Hi everyone, my name is Chelsea. I am a children's librarian at the Grandview Heights Public Library, here to share some book recommendations with you for birth through third grade and their caregivers. I'm going to start with a board book called Toesy Toes, written by Sarah Seong. So board books are great to use with babies because the pages are nice and thick, and so they're not going to be able to rip those. They can still be looking through it, turn the pages, kind of see how a book works. This one uses a lot of alliteration, like splishy splashy, beachy breezy, also some rhyming words like pouncy bouncy. All of those are great for early literacy, which will help a child learn to read later on. Also, there's pictures of different kinds of babies on each page, and babies love seeing babies because they look like them. And on the last page is super cute, ends with a peekaboo, of course. So peekaboo, toesy toes. So I'd recommend this for birth through about 18 months. My second book is also a board book. It's a bilingual one called Baby Dream and Soñando con Bebé. So it's in Spanish and English, written by Sunny Scribbins. And recent studies have actually been done on the brain that shows the benefits of using 2 or more languages, whether it's talking with your children, singing to them, reading to them. It has helped with improved concentration and retention of information. It's just always kind of fun to be learning some new words yourself as well. And this one, it's cute. They all have photographs of babies once again, but in English, the refrain is the same, and then in Spanish as well. So when it's time for us to rest, or in Spanish, cuando sea hora de descansar. So that is the repeated refrain, and that repetition really helps children to learn as well. Okay? So that one would also be birth through about 18 months. Okay, our next one is called Your Name is a Song, written by Jamila Tompkins Bigelow and illustrated by Louisa Uribe. So I really like even just the first picture in this. It doesn't have any words. Kind of gives you a scene of what's going on. And as one of my old theater professors said many times to me, that you want to show, don't tell. So I think that's a good way to start with this. So it's definitely showing that there is a girl frustrated at her school. So it goes into more of a detailed story, of course, with words. And her mom picks her up, and they're going to walk home. She just asks her, what's wrong? She's like, well, nobody knows how to say my name, not even the teacher. And the mom tells her, well, your name is a song. And the girl thinks she's crazy. Of course, names aren't songs. But then the mom does go to give examples and prove that names are indeed songs. And like some examples like ulumade and kotune. And it's nice for the reader because it has pronunciation, so you know how to say these names. So they're walking home, finding rhythms and stuff in everyday items as they're walking. And her mom tells her, names come from the heart. They have fire. They're strong. Gives her an example. Julunk, lunges like a dragon. That does sound like a strong, powerful name, doesn't it? So she's convinced the little girl. She goes to school the next day, and the teacher is calling the different kids' names, and she's finding a little beat, jiving with the names as they're being called. The teacher calls on her, once again has trouble saying her name. And the girl tells her that she sings her name to her. And she's like, the teacher says, well, what are you doing? She's like, well, my name is a song, and names are songs. The teacher's like, no. And then she proves it to her, and she sings the teacher's name. The teacher's name is Miss Anderson. And what I like about this is you can sing however you want. It can be silly, very dramatic. But so this is how I imagine it to be. She says, Miss Anderson. And Miss Anderson really enjoys hearing her name sung, thinks it sounds really pretty, and everybody gets excited for her to sing their name. So they're asking, how's my name sound? How does my name sound? And so like one of them is Bob. So she's like, Bob. That's how I like to do Bob. I think that's how Bob would come out. And then they finally sing her name, and it's music to her ears. And it's kind of cool that you don't know what her name is until the very end. And it's Coroge la Muso. And the really cool thing about this is at the end, there is a glossary. So it shows a glossary of all the names that were featured in the book with pronunciations. And just a note from the author as well to make sure that when you meet somebody, to ask how to pronounce their name. If someone's not saying your name correctly, let them know. You know, we all want to be respectful and call each other what we want to be called. So it has a lot of nice messages, really nice illustrations. I thought this one was especially nice. This is where she was talking about names being strong, and seems like a very strong mama. All right, and that one is for older preschoolers, probably 3 to 5, maybe 4 to 5, maybe even up to 6. A lot of good discussion options there. Next one is 10 on a Twig, written by Lo Kull. And I like the description in the beginning of this. It says that it's a deceptively simple counting book. Not only is there's 10 on the Twig here, but you know, they are also start out big and get smaller. So, and different colors, different little details, so different things that you can discuss about the birds. Beautiful end papers, darker ones at the end. I love end papers. But yeah, this one is really cute. It has these 10 birds on a twig. I'll just read a little bit of it. 10 on a twig, just passing time. Snap, one falls off, and then there are 9. So each one snaps off and they take a piece of the branch with them. And by the end, when there's just the one bird left, they've all taken those pieces with them and they've made a nest. So then they have a new home and they're all together. So it has I feel like with the way the flaps are, it feels very Hungry Caterpillar-like, which is kind of fun. And it's just a super fun, vibrant, good counting book. And I would say that's probably 2 to 3 year olds, but even older ones would enjoy it as well, because there's a lot to discuss there. My next one is also for preschool, about 3 to 5, called Prairie Days, written by Patricia McLaughlin and Mecha Archer. The illustrations in this are absolutely fabulous. I read in the back she uses acrylics, inks, collage, and multi-layered pieces created with origami and tissue, and then and patterned papers as well, and then she makes her own homemade stamps. So I'll show you just like a page in here. Just a lot going on. Really beautiful. The story just shows like day-to-day life growing up on a farm, talking about the prairies, the big sky. One of the pages talks about some birds like grouse, scissortails, magpies, and dippers. So some new vocabulary words to talk about. Talks about the small towns and the working dogs. And I think it just can provide a really good discussion, maybe to guess where this might be taking place. Differences, similarities to where you live. Maybe find it on a map. The one page that I like a lot too has a couple of prairie dogs on it. So pretty nice with the big sky, showing some prairie days. So that's a fun one too. All right, next is Looking for Smile. I'd say this is also for preschool. 3 to 5 or so. So this is about a bear who's always with Smile. They're always together. He wakes up and Smile's there, and they like all the same things, like nuts and berries, especially for breakfast, and honey and waterfalls and adventures. And it shows them going on adventures once again. Show, don't tell. So they're going into caves, through the forest. But one morning, Smile doesn't come when Bear wakes up for breakfast, and he eats his nuts and berries, and they don't even taste as good. He's looking everywhere for Smile. He runs into his friend Rabbit. He tells him to look for Smile in your favorite places. So he goes to some of those, can't find Smile anywhere. And comes across another one of his friend's bird, and she's like, "Oh, poor Bear." And then she just sits with him, and they just sit there together. She's not trying to necessarily solve anything. She's just there for him, which I think is really sweet. And she starts to sing, which causes him to hum a little bit. And then he starts to feel something deep down inside of him, and Smile is back. So it's very sweet. I think it is a good book to talk about that everybody feels a little sad sometimes, and it's good to sometimes just be there for your friends who feel sad, or know that if you're sad, it's okay. You don't have to find your smile all the time, because, you know, we're all people and we all have moments where we feel sad. And then something else I like about the illustrations at the beginning, when Smile's with him, they're all very cheerful and bright. When he has lost Smile, a lot more gray and blue. So kind of help to symbolize that for young children. My next one is a biography. This is probably first to second or third grade, depending on the level of the reader. This is a really fun new series called Little People, Big Dreams. This one is about Aretha Franklin, and I love the end papers here as well. Got some microphones. So there's a short paragraph on every other page, just giving some basic information about Aretha in this case. That, you know, she came from a musical family. She sang in her gospel choir where her father was a preacher, ended up getting a contract from a record company. Talks about her song R-E-S-P-E-C-T. She was friends with Martin Luther King Jr. Eventually ended up writing and producing her own songs, and all different genres. And what she said all of her songs had to have was they had to be talking about everyday ups and downs, because that's what soul is all about. So I thought that was a really cool little detail to add. It did take her 30 years to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and she was the first woman to do so. So she really paved the way for other women and women of color especially. So I just really enjoyed this. It was very interesting, good basic information. There's a bunch of others in the series. At the end, it shows like a short little timeline with some nice photographs of Aretha. So first through third grade, probably for that one. My next one is called The Dragon Slayer, Folk Tales from Latin America by Jamie Hernandez. And this is a graphic novel, probably first through third grade, depending on the reading level once again. You know, graphic novels are great for reluctant readers, but they're also really great for any kind of reader. There's some really good ones out there, and honestly, I don't feel like I even read enough of them, but I really enjoyed this one. It has 3 folk tales included, and you know, folk tales can be really helpful for children. Like every area of the world, every country in the world has folk tales. They're have been brought down orally. They can teach us about the world, customs, and just insights into the universal human experience. So this one, of course, are folk tales from Latin America. 2 of the stories feature really strong women characters. The first one is someone who actually slays the dragon and rescues the prince. So that was pretty cool. And then the other one shows another strong woman, and a big theme in that one is empathy, showing empathy for other people, and the hero of that ends up being a healer who is a woman. And then the third story is about 3 brothers, but it really teaches some values of being clever and not taking everything super literally, you know, working smarter, not harder necessarily. And talks about planting crops, so there's some educational opportunities there. It's a quick but fun read. I really enjoyed this one. One of the stories includes a few Spanish words and makes it obvious like what it is, like gato for cat, perro for dog. You know, the pictures just really help further the story, and they're also very important as much as the words are. There is a brief history of each of the folk tales and a great bibliography at the end for anyone who would want more information about these stories. My next one I really, really enjoyed. It's called Girl on a Motorcycle by Amy Noveski and illustrated by Julie Morsad. Even the cover is quite lovely. There was one page in particular that I wanted to show you where she is looking at the northern lights, or the Aurora Borealis. So this is actually based on a true woman who started going around the world on her motorcycle in 1973 by herself. She is the first woman to have achieved this. There's different pages in the book that discuss like her packing list And part of that was, you know, tools, camping equipment, medicine, a good pen, a blank book, and lipstick, of course. Later, there's a kind of a how-to with bullet points of how to change a tire. But, you know, she goes all over the place. She's from Paris, and then she flies to Canada, drives her motorcycle all through Canada and Alaska, ends up going to Tokyo, India, Afghanistan, really just getting to know different people and different experiences all over the world and experiencing the different kindnesses that there are out there. The message that was at the end that I really enjoyed was she said, I want the world to be beautiful, and it is beautiful. I want people to be good, and they are good. It does talk about, you know, some of the challenges that she had, that sometimes, you know, she got hurt or she fell or she was going through a storm, or sometimes she didn't always feel safe. You know, this was very unusual for a woman doing this at this time. And I feel like she was just a real trailblazer, and I was so excited to learn about her. At the end, it does have more information about her, which I thought was interesting. And she sold her motorcycle at age 72, but it sounds like she is still living in Paris. So a fun one to learn about a cool new woman, a girl on a motorcycle. And I would recommend that for probably second, third, even fourth grade, maybe even fifth grade. A lot of fun things there. So my last one is one of my very favorite books in the whole wide world. It is The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane, written by Kate D. Camillo and illustrated by Bagram Iba Tulane. There's not a lot of pictures in there, but there are some nice ones. There he is up like looking like a scarecrow. But Kate D. Camillo is the author of Because of Winn-Dixie and The Tale of Despereaux, which were both made into movies, I believe. This one, first of all, I just love the title. I just think it is one of the most fabulous titles ever for anything. For a song, for a movie, for a book, whatever. Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. It just sounds like an adventure. So it is about this China rabbit named Edward Tulane. He belongs to this little girl named Abeline. And she loves him so much. She takes really good care of him. But she ends up losing him on a large ship. Some boys are being mean to Edward, and they take him from her and throw him overboard, and he ends up at the bottom of the ocean. And, you know, Edward is also a little fancy, a little vain, kind of full of himself. As he is going overboard, he's a little worried, but one of his biggest worries is whether his hat is on his head, which just cracks me up. He can't actually move or talk, but he's very aware of everything going on around him. So he stays at the bottom of the ocean for months. Eventually a fisherman does bring a net down there and ends up bringing Edward up to the surface. And then he goes through this series of owners, some adults, some children, very different situations for each of his owners. It's pretty sweet. It reminds me of the Velveteen Rabbit, except that Edward Tulane thinks that love is silly and he doesn't need it. But his miraculous journey may just prove otherwise. I think it's a really great book to read as a family or just to your young one. If you're going to read it to them, you could go even younger. If it's a child reading it on their own, I would say, second to fifth grade. It's a pretty quick read. Like each of the pages, like it's kind of big text. It's spaced out. The audiobook is only like 1 CD. I've listened to the audiobook as well, and it's also great. I just love this book so much, and I recommend it a lot. It's wonderful. It's just so sweet. It'll probably make you cry, just so you know. So those are my recommendations for you. And I hope you have enjoyed this. I sure have. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.